In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how I've learned to use the platform n8n. This is the platform I use for building automation workflows and AI agents. I'm completely self-taught. I've no technical background, no coding experience, and I've been able to pick up a lot of these skills in the last 10 months. And now I just want to show you guys exactly how you can go about start building your first workflows and how you can incorporate AI into your business. And yeah, hopefully you'll learn something. So yeah, let's jump into it. So first of all, this is n8n. This is the platform that I choose to use primarily for all automation and AI agent builds. I found n8n kind of the best platform for this, just for my use case. Now there are other platforms available, so you've got Make and Zapier, but for me, n8n just worked, and there was a lot of customization you could do. You can self-host n8n as well, so it means you can have a free platform effectively. I won't go into that today though, so what I'll just go into today is kind of the basic n8n platform, some of the ways you can start to build things. So you can start a free account with n8n, and this will give you a chance to kind of play around with it, play around with some of the workflows, some of the automation. But then you can also pay for different plans. So I think I'm on the Pro plan, but you can actually have a look at the pricing here. So yeah, here you go. So your starter plan, and you get a free trial with this. You get one shared project, 5 concurrent executions, unlimited users, and then you can go for a Pro plan. And then obviously you've got business and enterprise, but really you can start the free trial and you can be paying £20 a month for the starter plan. So we're just going to sign in. So once you sign up and you start your free trial, we're gonna sign in, and we're gonna be greeted with an admin panel. And this is just my company, and I'm not going to open this because there's quite a few automations I've got with client names that will come straight up. But once you open your instance, you'll then be able to create a new workflow. And so that's what we've got here. We've just literally started a brand new workflow. Now this can look like really overwhelming and quite daunting. And I certainly did find it really overwhelming to begin with, because it almost feels like it's a complete blank canvas for you to start. So yeah, it definitely can feel overwhelming. The good thing now with AI and technology, you can go into here and we can actually build an entire workflow, or at least the very beginnings of a workflow with AI. And I'll show you that in a bit, but I wouldn't get too much into that first, because you kind of want to work your way around n8n and kind of understand it a little bit more. Cool. So the main thing that the main area that you're going to be using on n8n is going to be up here in this little plus sign, and this is going to be where you're going to input all of your triggers and your nodes and all of your pieces of software that you're using. If it allows integration, this is where you're going to start to build it. Now, because we haven't actually got anything in here yet, all we have available to us is a trigger. And there are a number of different triggers here on the right hand side that you can see. So we can trigger manually. We have and that's all that is a we click a button to run the workflow. We have on app event. So what we can do is we can have a trigger that says, so if we click in on app event, you will be able to see every single app that n8n hosts or has an event in it. We'll just say for now, so for instance, if you wanted a Google a Gmail node, Gmail, here you go, on a message received. So that's your trigger. Your trigger is your starting point. It's the thing that you need to look at when the reason that your workflow begins. Okay, so that might be on a Gmail event trigger. There's an Outlook trigger here as well, I believe. Yeah, Microsoft Outlook. So you can say on message received. We can do things like, look, you can go through in this entire, you can do on Airtable. So Airtable is a CRM system. So on a new Airtable event, so something might happen. So look, I've got an Airtable account up here, so we can connect that up, and then there is something that happens within Airtable that triggers the workflow. It might be a record gets updated, it might be a record gets deleted, new record gets created, whatever that might be, and then the workflow will run. So this kind of this very beginning bit, and so let's get rid of that. So we've got quite a few triggers here. We've got on a schedule, so we can run a workflow on a minute by minute schedule. You know, we can run it every day, every minute, every hour, every week, every year, every month, whatever that might be. We can completely customize that. We also have on a webhook call. So this is when something outside of n8n happens. So it's, let's say, for instance, you have, I don't know, you've got an AI, you haven't, someone that listens to your, so you've got an AI note taker in your Gmail. Your note taker will have a webhook call, and it will say, and that's kind of the n8n, the workflow communicating with other external apps and pieces of software. So something happens externally, and that webhook sends that data to n8n, and so that workflow is listening for that event to happen, right, for it to trigger the workflow. We've got on submission, so generate web forms in n8n, so that's just someone filling out a form and putting some information in. We have executed by another workflow, so we can build workflows within workflows. So that sounds complicated, but imagine you've got a really long workflow, and you only, within your within one of those workflows, we want it to call another workflow. And that sounds, like I said, it sounds complicated, but it's not. We can do on chat message, so for your AI agent, so that's just literally like as if you're messaging an AI agent. That's easy. Run a data set through your workflow, so to test performance, so we can run an evaluation, and we can do it quite a few other ways as well. But really, for most use cases, and for like beginners, and if you're new to automation and you want to learn this, really these are your main ones. Okay, you're going to trigger manually, you're going to have on app event, on a schedule, on a webhook call, and probably on a chat message. I would ignore on form submission and when executed by another workflow for now. Otherwise you'll just get overwhelmed. So those are kind of our those are our nodes, like our trigger nodes. And let's say we've got trigger manually. So this is kind of the beginning. And the best thing with n8n, and the best way to imagine automation and AI, is all you're doing is moving data. That is the easiest way to think about automation and AI, is you are just moving data from one piece of software, or one node in this case. So each of these is called a node. So we're just moving that data through them, and we're going to get a result, and that the end result is what we want to achieve. And obviously within that, you can then have lots of different things. You can have AI agents running, you can have large language models kind of helping you with that data. So yeah, that's kind of the best way to think about it. So now we have our trigger node. So this is just a trigger node, pretty straightforward. So that's going to be the thing that sets off our workflow. Now what we have is we have a few different kind of core components that we need to look into. Now the best way I learned this, I know this sounds crazy, but it's just to read them. And actually you will find that a lot of the information around each of these core components within n8n is very much embedded into what it says anyway. So you can see here we've got an AI agent, which is build autonomous agents. I'm just going to move my camera because I can't actually see. Let's just do that. There we go. So we've got AI, so we've got build autonomous agents, summarize or search documents, etc. So if we click into AI, we have a bunch of stuff here. So you can see all of your AI nodes here. And again, don't get too overwhelmed with this. If you just think about what, starting really basic, you might just want to message a model. So you might want to have an Anthropic model, an OpenAI, a Google Gemini, whatever it might be. That's just the basic way to kind of think, okay, well, what AI nodes are in here? And the chances are you're probably just going to be using some of these ones. So if we click on OpenAI, we then have the ability to message OpenAI or ChatGPT. That all we're doing is messaging ChatGPT, but through n8n. That's the way you've got to kind of think about it. So we've got some AI nodes here. Again, don't get too overwhelmed by any of this. This you will learn in time, but very much, for beginners, and if you're a business looking at automation, some of this stuff you're not gonna learn straight away. But there's lots of different, we have other AI nodes in here as well. There's so much you can do. And we've got even more. There we go. So we can play around with this, but if you want to spend the time, if you read each one of these, it will give you the information around what they actually are. So if you look, Anthropic, all it says is interact with Anthropic AI nodes, models. That's all you're doing. You're effectively messaging Anthropic through n8n. Guardrails, so this is quite new. So we want to safeguard AI models from malicious input or prevent them from gathering undesirable responses. So again, it's kind of very self-explanatory in what that does. All that's doing is saying, let's say we're building an AI agent for a business. We have a guardrails node, say we've got an AI agent within an organization. We want to make sure that the employees aren't putting malicious input into that AI agent that you're building. And that's all that's doing. It's just saying, actually, we're just going to, before we start this, we're just going to make sure that what you're doing is actually safe. And we're going to make sure that, we can give you a proper response. Then you've got things like a basic LLM chain, so a simple chain to prompt a large language model. Again, very self-explanatory with what that does. Extract information from text in a structured format. We've got question and answer chain. We've got sentiment analysis, so analyze the sentiment of your text. Summarize chain, AI transform. So you can see that when you start to play around with this, a lot of them, they just explain what they are, the node actually does, and that's kind of the best way I learned to do it, was I just read and researched each one of them. So there are kind of AI nodes. That's anything to do with AI. Then we have action in an app. So this is where you will have all of your apps and anything that n8n can talk to, you will have that within this part. So you can see here, we have loads and loads of apps that n8n can talk to, and there will be loads of apps in here that you run as a business that you can talk to. There will be new apps in here, new pieces of software that you might not use, and it might make sense to then use that software for your use case. But all this is doing is saying, hey, we're going to do something within this particular piece of software. So let's take Airtable, for instance. All we are going to do is get a record. So our workflow, it might be as simple as we are going to execute a workflow. That's then going to go Airtable. We want to get a certain record from Airtable. Let me just see if I can put my credentials in. Yeah. So, and I can choose from my list, and I can choose from a table, and I can choose what record I want to get. I'm not going to do that now because I've got client details in here that I work with on Airtable. And what we can do is we can just get those records. So if you update an Airtable database with, you've got certain pieces of information in there, like contact details or some form of information that you need to extract from Airtable that you want to run through an automation, that's all we're doing in that case. We're just getting that record from Airtable. Again, it's just all about data. We're just moving data from Airtable into n8n. And you've got tons of stuff here. So there are lots of loads of apps basically that you can look at, and you can run loads of different things, and all of these apps are integrated with n8n, and all we're doing is we're either getting a piece of data from that application and from that piece of software, or we're uploading data to that application or piece of software. That's, again, it's just think of it as data. Just think of it as data flowing around, right, and just moving data from one place to the next. Then we have data transformation. So this is a really, really important part, actually. So lots of these fields are going to be things that you're going to use quite a lot of the time. And this is because your applications and software and the pieces of software that you're using in your business, if we have a record here, so we've got our Airtable, we can do certain things with that, which is great. And we can get the data from Airtable and we can upload the data to Airtable. But actually, the nodes that we are going to use most primarily are kind of like some of the core n8n nodes that will be in most, or if not all, workflows. And that includes things like a code node. So a code node is quite important. So and I'm just going to move all of these actually around. So we have a code node. Now, a code node basically takes information, and then you can code anything up in JavaScript. Don't worry, that sounds overwhelming. It's not, because actually I can't code in JavaScript, but I get AI to code me in JavaScript. So let's say we are getting one piece of data. So say we're taking a piece of information from Airtable and it's returning that information in a bit of a messy structure. All it's doing is taking a bunch of information for us from many different columns in Airtable. It's bringing all that in, and some of it is a bit messy, right? And we're kind of like, actually, we need to clean this data up. We might then get a JavaScript. We might use AI to code us something up in JavaScript, and then all that does is go, okay, AI will go, okay, brilliant, like ChatGPT is good at this. It will just give you a JavaScript code and you can say, here's my output from Airtable and I need it to be clean, or these are the only things I need it to look like. Can you clean it up for me? Can you give me a better output than what I'm currently getting? And that's what typically a good code node is for. And there's lots of other use cases for that. Typically, if you're just trying to code up information, or you're trying to give more information or more data to a workflow or a model, you can do that within JavaScript. Then we have we've got edit fields. So this is a really you will use this quite a bit as well, and we can do some manual mapping. And so edit fields is when the best way to explain it is that in your workflow there will be, you almost want to have like names for pieces of data. So imagine you've got a data, I don't know, let's just say you have a new contact gets input into the CRM system. We can then take that data and all that data that holds. So I don't know, it could be a phone number, it could be an email, it could be a description of that person, job title. We can take that data and we can break it up and give it, or we can keep it as one big data set, or we can break it up. But let's say we keep all that data, we can name it. And so that just makes it a lot easier in our workflow when we're putting the pieces together of our workflow. It just makes it a lot easier, rather than us going in and taking all of those pieces of data, each one at a time. We can say, well, actually this whole data set we've got of name, email, phone number, whatever, we're just going to call that new contact. So you might go, well, actually all we're going to do is, this is just called new contact up here. Oh, my spelling is terrible today. New contact, and all you're then going to have is the value. Is the value of that information. So the value just becomes whatever your input is here. So on this left hand side is input. You would then just have that as the value. It's the easiest way. Again, we're just naming our data effectively. We've also got other things here as well. So we've got numbers, we've got Boolean search, we've got an array, we've got an object, we've got binary data. And again, don't worry too much about those right now if you're relatively new to n8n. Yes, they're important, but you're probably not going to be using too much of that initially. You might be using array. That's just effectively a JSON array. But yeah, some of these you're not going to be using straight away. So just, again, don't worry too much. But editing fields is good if you've got lots of data coming in, and you just want to name that data to make it a lot easier in your workflow. So then we have, if we go through data transformation, what else we got? So we've got split out. So that's a very good one. So a good one to know is split out. And this just splits out your data. Again, if you've got lots of, let's go back, data transformation. Yeah. So again, this is quite good. So if you look here and we go into data transformation, it says turn a list inside items into separate items. So let's say, it's super, like it explains it for you, right, in some way. If we have a bunch of information and each one of those, we don't want it to come, if it's coming through as one big item. So let's say let's use a shopping list as an example. You write a shopping list and it's got all of your items that you need, 20 items that you need from the shop. Rather than it coming through as one whole list, it comes through as each item. And so that's all that's doing, is just splitting that data out for you. And if we go in here, you can see that any input obviously we have. So if we had our shopping list input, we can fields to split out, you'd be able to put that in there. So that's quite good and again, it's all about, again, we're thinking about in terms of data and actually what that data is doing and what you want to do with that data. Then we have aggregate. So we might want to combine all that data. So you can actually see on the images you can actually see, if I zoom in on these nodes, you can see the image is almost giving you the description. So split out is going, okay, we have one input on the left hand side, and it's going to come out as many different items. And on aggregate, all we're doing is we're putting many in items in, and it's going to bring one out. Again, it's just the shopping list, but it's just the reverse of that. And then we have, so there's some other ones in here which is quite good. So merge is very good. So you can see if we have two, for instance, if you can see again that the image of the merge node right here kind of tells you if you have two, if you've got almost two workflows, what it's going to do is it's going to bring those into one. So let's say you have a top and a bottom workflow, and those things are doing slightly different things with data. That then gets to a point where actually that each of those workflows that's producing that data, then you can go, well, actually, I want you to merge that into one, and then that gives you one piece of data. And that's all that does. We're just merging information together. Then as we go through data transformation, there's a couple of other things in here as well, but again, you won't want to play around with those too much initially. We've got compression, we've got convert files, we've got work with HTML, we've got lots of different other things in here that you will learn about, and actually they make a lot of sense when you read them, but you may not need them for every workflow. Unless you're dealing with huge amounts of data, you're going to obviously want to put some of these in. But really, for any beginner, initially, anything around data transformation, you either want to split out that data, aggregate that data. So you want to aggregate that data into one lot of data, or you want to merge data from two different workflows. You also want to understand that anything you can't do with split out, aggregate, or merge, you can do in a JavaScript, and actually you can do most things with JavaScript code. Even if there's nodes available, so like for instance on split out, aggregate, and merge, I could do all of those just by getting JavaScript code and doing it if I wanted to, but that would be a waste of time. But you can do a lot of things within the JavaScript code. So you can see here we've got, like, on the right hand side, loads of stuff. We've got lots of things. We've got crypto in here, edit images, extract files. So lots of things we can play around with. But again, for the sake of this video, we're just going to keep to the real basics. Then we have some really important things. So we've got a HTTP request and a webhook. So that's kind of what I mentioned earlier. So what we're going to be doing with a HTTP request. Let's move all these. So HTTP request is effectively, all we're doing is speaking to another piece of software. So again, really straightforward. Again, you're thinking about data. All the HTTP request is doing is saying, okay, cool, I'm going to send some data to this software via a HTTP request. You've given me this data. We're going to upload that to a piece of software or an application that you want to run in the background. Then we have, let me just go back here. Yeah. So then we've got, where was the other one that's gone now? Because you'll see that, as you can see, there is it will recommend nodes based on what you've got laid out. So there was the one there that I wanted to show you, which has just gone missing, but it hasn't now. So if I take away this, you can see it will look different. Nope. Yeah, don't know why that's now. Okay, yeah, sorry, I clicked on the wrong thing. I clicked on the wrong thing. So I jumped forward to HTTP request when I should have gone through I should have clicked on flow. Okay, cool. So we'll go back. We'll take a step back. So on flow, there's a few. You can see here we've got merge. We've already done that. We've got loop over items, which I want to talk about. Then we have if. Yeah, I want that. And then I also want to talk about wait as well. And I'm just going to get them all out really quickly. No, that's cool. We'll do that now. So we have other workflow nodes here. So all we're doing is let's have a look. So loop over items. So if we are extracting data from our CRM system and we don't want to run. So let's say we want to pull emails through from our CRM system. We've got 10 contacts in our Airtable database. What we don't want to do is go, well, actually, we're going to run all 10 of those emails at once and try and filter them through and send an email all at once. So what we would do is we would create a workflow that sends an email to those 10 contacts, but all we're doing is running those contacts one at a time. So your workflow would get to the end and it would say, well, I've sent an email to John, and then I'm going to loop back over to the workflow, and now I'm going to send an email to the next person, and it's going to finish, and we're going to send an email to the next person and the next person and the next person. So that's all it's doing. Is if you want to do multiple things within your workflow, or you want your workflow to run more than once for each item, all you're just doing is looping those over. Then we've got the if. So this is just gives you two branches. So let's say you've got a submission form on your website. You can run a true or false. So let's say if a new lead comes into the website, and if they say they have a budget of, say you've got a questionnaire on there, they're filling out a form to work with you, and one of the questions on your form is like, what's your marketing budget? And the client puts in £10,000 or $10,000, you can say, well, if it's $10,000, if their answer is $10,000, you go down one route. And if it's not, if the other question on the submission form is like, is it, say it's less than $10,000 or is it more than $10,000, you basically can do a true, it's more, we go down this route. If it's less than, we go down this route. So all you're doing is going, if the data is slightly different, if there's two ways that you can process some data, you're just going, well, is it true or is it false? So is it X or is it Y? And then it will go down a separate workflow. The wait node is good. So the wait node just gives you can put a time on this. So we can go wait amount in seconds, minutes, hours, or days. So we can do this for lots of different things. You can do this for an email. So if you're sending emails to people, you might want to wait some time before you send those emails. Wait node is quite good when you're running quite a lot of AI. So if you are putting lots of information into OpenAI, ChatGPT, large language models, Anthropic, whatever it might be, you can wait so that you're not overwhelming the AI. So you can say, okay, well, once you've done this one, now can you wait 90 seconds and then do it again? And then you go wait. So you can have a wait loop. So let's go. Why is that doing that? So we could have a wait node connected to our loop over items node. And so all that's doing is going, before you go to the next one, we just want to wait 90 seconds or a minute or an hour or a day. Again, whatever it might be that you decide. All we're doing is literally saying, before you go to the next step, just wait a period of time. That's all we're doing. Cool. So anything else in Flow that's worth talking about? No, I think you can have filter in here. So you can filter some logic. So if we look here, all this is remove items matching a condition. So all we're doing is removing data. If for instance you have a client that goes down that true route of the budget is less than $10,000, you might filter that then, and it goes into, I don't know, you might filter the data, change the data in some way that it goes into a different CRM or however you run your business. Cool. So I jumped forward to core accidentally. So what we're going to look at now is our HTTP request, which I kind of already spoke about. We're going to look at things like our webhook. We're going to look at things like execute a sub workflow. We're going to just click that. And then respond to webhook as well. Cool. So we've done HTTP requests. So this is just where you will, again, it's just speaking to the data you've got. You're just then speaking to a third party, another piece of software, an application, whatever that might be that you're using. And you're sending information to that. You're sending information to that that application or software. A webhook. So all a webhook is, if you look here, this is all just around, think about communication, right? Data, the data and the applications that you currently have, that all they're doing is speaking to each other. So a webhook just allows, again, it's listening out for an event or something that's happened. So you can keep this on. So what we can do is we can put a production URL on it and we can have this on. And so a webhook is like someone that's just, it's listening for something to happen. So again, I'll use the example of the if you have a AI note taker. So I use Fireflies, and I have a webhook that's listening to Fireflies, because I can set up a webhook within Fireflies, and I go, okay, whenever a new call or a new transcript gets input into Fireflies from a call that I've got, I can then go, okay, cool, it's listening to that. It's then going to analyze the data, and it's going to give me I don't know, it might give you just a quick overview of that conversation that it runs through an AI, and it says, okay, here's some action points, or here's some key takeaways. Even though Fireflies does that, actually I prefer my own way of doing it, and I want key bits of information that are relevant to my business, not just an entire transcript of the conversation. So all that's doing is just listening to that. And then what we've got is we've also got respond to webhook. So if you're, let's say, I've got a email that's coming, so I can run a cold email campaign. I have an email that's come in onto my email platform. The webhook has heard that. It's listened to that event. It's heard that event has happened. We've had an inbound email come through. The webhook picks up that email, runs it through my workflow, which might be something like, categorize this email via buying intent. That the workflow runs through AI. It then gives me an email to resend to that person, and then I can just respond to the webhook, and I can send an email via that platform or whatever it might be. So all you're doing is going, the webhook takes the data, it listens to an event, it goes, here's the data, I've heard this has happened, it's listened to it, runs it through whatever you want it to do, and then it gives you the response to that, and it goes, okay, cool, here's some more data to give back to the webhook or give back to that application. Cool. We've also got execute workflow. So that's we've got a sub workflow within that. So let's say we have a chain, and within that workflow, we need it to call another workflow. And so let me try and think of an example within that. I'm trying to think off the top of my head what that might look like, because you can either run a sub workflow, you can execute a workflow, a sub workflow, or what you might do is just have two different workflows on the same pattern. But typically you might want to execute a workflow if the data and the logic in your parent workflow needs to call another workflow to get more information. Okay, so I think about executing a sub workflow as just going, we've got some data in this workflow going, we have some data we really want to, we're this data is flowing, but actually we also need some more data from some different items. So actually we need to get this data from over here, and we need to bring that into our current workflow. So again, think of it just as like, again, it's just moving data around. So that's the some of the core things. Again, there's a few more in here, but really these are going to be the ones you're going to use. You master these ones. These are going to be the ones you use all the time, right? And then we've got a human in the loop. So we can wait for a response. So what we can do is we can have, if we're producing content, we might want a human being to review that content. So all we're doing is adding a human in the loop layer. And we can get someone to go, okay, well, respond. We want a Slack message, a Telegram message, a WhatsApp message, an email message, and we're waiting for that human to approve, say, a piece of content, or approve some terms of business we've written, or a new proposal, or something where having a human eyes on this workflow, so it doesn't. You just want to make sure, basically, that it's not completely all done by AI. And that actually there's a human there kind of reviewing things and making sure things are working. And we can do that in a different way. You can see here on the right-hand side, we can do quite a few different ways of doing that. So these are kind of like the main nodes that I think that anyone should really look at and start to understand and start to put together. Now, we also have other things here. So we can build an AI agent. So what we can do is, this is our AI agent right here. So we have nodes that can run purely based on logic, and I've got another video around this, around the difference between automation and AI. You can have all of these nodes are like logic based. So you could string all of these different nodes together we've got here with different pieces of software and different applications, and effectively all it's then doing is giving you the output at the end, and it will give you the same output and the same result consistently over and over again. Where an AI agent is different is that we can then build, we have this AI agent node here, and we can attach models to it. So we can say, okay, we want our AI agent to be run by OpenAI, the chat GPT, so that's kind of the brain. Then we can add in different tools, and you can see that we've got lots of different tools in here as well. So again, lots of different pieces of software. Let's just use Airtable again because it's kind of easy to explain. So we can have a tool that creates a record in Airtable. We can then go back to Airtable and we can go, we can add another one. So we've got a get record. We've got different operations here. We can create record. We can get a record. And let's add in another one. And we might go delete, or yeah, we can do delete record. So effectively what this means is that our input into the AI agent might be, we might have just a simple Telegram message. Yeah, send a, so you can see here, look, you can delete a chat message, you can send a document, send a chat action. We can do loads of stuff here. Let's just say, get chat. Okay. So what we can do is we can message Telegram or WhatsApp, or you can have anything you want. And we could say, the model might be like, go to Airtable and I need you to create a new record under X, Y, and Z for this person. I then need you to delete this person. Okay, so you can effectively get the AI agent will then take that message and it will do it all for you. And there are pros and cons to this, right? In my view, I think an AI agent, there is a lot more that can go wrong. So there's a lot more that if it's not built properly, it can go wrong. If it's not messaged, if the message isn't clear, the prompting isn't clear, it can go wrong. It might work one day, and I've had this before where the AI agent works one day, and just because my message was slightly different another day, it didn't do it. And so you need to make sure, and with, do you really need an AI agent is basically the argument, because you can do quite a lot of stuff with just workflows anyway. But then we can also, so like where we've got these nodes here, so these nodes are, your standard, like the core nodes I think anyone should learn and anyone should use. But then we've got things like your AI, which I mentioned earlier. So we can go to, where's message a model. So within a workflow, let's say we've got I'm just going to this isn't obviously a real workflow, but you can go and picture what it might look like. We've got all of our nodes running along in a line here. And then within our workflow, even within our automation workflow, we have an AI model. So it's not an agent, but we're just messaging a model, and we can prompt it and it will give us information out of the back end. So it's kind of those three different variations. The first thing I would start to do for anyone kind of playing around with n8n is just look at really simple things you can automate. And it just might be as simple as we go to a trigger. So add another trigger. Let's go on app event, and let's go Gmail. I would just go on message received. I would connect up your Gmail account, and then all I would do is play around with it, and I would then send an email to, so actually, I mean, I can probably show you what this looks like. So these are kind of the core ones here. You've got, and then your AI agent node over here. And this looks really overwhelming. I understand that, and it looks really messy and complicated, but each node just does a specific thing. Again, if you think of it like from a data point of view, each node will do a specific task for you. So I've got every minute. I've got my event message received. Okay, cool. So I can then so let me just, I'm going to delete all of this because otherwise I won't be able to show you kind of just a really basic thing. So we've got some nodes there. Right, so this now is listening. So there's going to be a trigger that happens, and I'm just going to add in, I'm going to add in just a code node really quickly. So what you should be able to see, so this is this is now active, this is now live, this is listening on for a message received. So if I go to my Gmail over here, I'm just going to open it up. So I should be able to go here. So let me just compose it to so I'm going to send it from another account. I'm not just going to send myself an email, so I just got to log into another account. Okay, so Joe. So what I'm doing now is I'm just literally loading up a Gmail, Joe. And then this should, so here we go. This should come through, but obviously it's listening. You can see it's happening every minute. So we just need to make sure that you can see it's waiting. We're kind of just waiting for it to happen. This is the problem with automation. Right, there we go. Cool. There we go. So you've got, it was just, I didn't want to wait another minute, so I didn't want to wait to do it. But you can see then it's got all this information, right? And it's got my message here. It's got my email and stuff, and a mock email as well. So yeah, so this is kind of the schedule, and you'll see it, and then obviously we can code it up in JavaScript, and we can put in a JavaScript code that then says, extract the most relevant details, whatever it might be. But yeah, like the one thing I would say with n8n is just don't feel like really overwhelmed with it. Actually, everything in n8n is here, and it tells you what those things do. And actually, all you're doing when you think of it from a data point of view, you're just moving data around. I hope that helps. Like, those are just some of the core things. Like I say, I've got no technical experience really. I've taught, I'm completely self-taught, and I learned just by reading all these things and learning about it, and just kind of coming at it from a completely like logic-based view, and trying just not to overcomplicate that logic too much. And you'll play around with things, and you'll get things wrong and whatnot, and there'll be, certainly within automation, there will always be kind of bugs and things and hiccups that you need to fix. But yeah, hopefully that helps. It's just a kind of some ideas, and just to quickly run through some of the stuff that I've been learning. And yeah, hopefully that helps you start to build your first automation. And yeah, if you don't already follow the channels, I'm all about kind of showing the business side of automation, and like the return on a value and the value that you can get from automation and AI. So yeah, if not, go check out the other videos, and I'll see you in the next one.